about how to use VIM, all the secrets regarding it, and it will be quite an interactive presentation, so I do believe that you will enjoy it very well. So, Rohit, feel free to start when ready.
Thank you, Alexander. Thank you so much. So today I'm going to bring a very light-hearted topic. It's not something very hardcore where you discuss Kafka, Apache Beam, distributed systems, or some framework. But in this case, we are just going to discuss a text editor. And why is it so important? Well, let's go and find out. Oops. So this is a little bit about me. My name is Rohit. I work as a lead engineer with EPAM Systems. My current interests are big data and writing tooling for it. I love distributed system topics. There's a lot of dynamism in distributed systems, and you really love doing that. My current project is around distributed systems, so I'm having a lot of fun there. I'm also a dojo sensei, so if there is a coding dojo in the Bay Area, you would probably find me there hosting the event. And then I love to host the Global Day of Code retreats. They're amazing. So please feel free to sign up for one if you see one in your area. I'm a member of the Tech Talks committee at EPAM. So I realized that being a member of the Tech Talks committee, I'd never given a Tech Talk myself. So I thought, okay, this is a good start. I'm also a member of the editorial board for SharePoint News. So you would be seeing some articles coming from me. And lately I've been writing a little bit about VIM. And that's the whole motivation of doing this talk. And I'm also interested in developer productivity topics. So that's what brings us to VIM. And I feel that Vim is one of those editors that brings out a little bit of developer productivity in you. And we will just go over a few concepts on how do you use this editor, how it really helps you, and how it could really make you shine in your career. Okay, so let's go to the next topic. So this is it. These are the end of my slides. The PowerPoint presentation ends here. Now what we would do is we'll do the following presentation in the text editor. All right. So here you go. This is the actual presentation, productivity with Vim. I don't do my presentations in Vim, but it's going to help us go through this concepts much easier, and it'll be much easy for us to review some of the material that we're going through. So that's the reason I'm doing this with Vim. So let's get started. In this entire presentation, you would be seeing a key caster over here. And since this is a text-based and a command line-based, terminal-based text editor, you were probably wondering what commands I use. And that's why you would be seeing whatever I type in the key caster over here. So I hope you're able to see the key caster too. So the agenda for today is Vim origins. Where did this begin? Why are we even talking about Vim in 2021, and how does it really help you? What's the motivation? Will I be really productive? Okay, this is one really interesting question that everyone has is, okay, if I have a really fancy fast text editor, does it make me a super productive engineer? Then what is modal editing? An all-important question, how do you quit Vim? There are a lot of jokes around Vim that I have been having it running for over 2 years because I don't know how to quit Vim. So no, it's not that difficult, and that's why I have a slide over here on how do you quit Vim. Managing real estate. We are working from home. We have limited screen space, and that's where this topic is really important. How do you manage the real estate that you have, the screen space, limited screen space that you have, and what Vim has to offer to you in order to do that. We'll go through the basics of navigation, part 1, part 2. We'll also go through the basics of Vim, inserting, deleting, replacing. That's what a text editor gives you, right? But Vim has something really special, and that is macros. And we'll also do a small demo on macros. And icing on the cake, we have tips on each slide. On each slide, I'll give you a tip that'll make you a great Vim developer. Now, my whole purpose of doing this talk is not to convert you to a Vim, a Vim only, choice of text editor. No, you can still continue to use your IntelliJ IDEA. You can still continue to use your VS Codes. You can still continue to use your Google Docs. That it doesn't really stop you from doing that. The thing is, what you learn with Vim, you can apply across all this tooling and still get the power of Vim. And that's why it's important to focus on these basics. So let's move ahead. Oops. Okay, origins. So it was originally built by Bill Joy in 1967. So imagine Vim as it exists today. The first foundation code, probably it was written for a text editor called ED, but it was written in 1967. And then it was only meant for proprietary systems like Unix. And that's why it wasn't available in its free form. And that's when Bram Moulinar came in. He currently works at Google, by the way, at Google Switzerland. And in 2021, he's still with Google. He's maintaining Vim, and he has competition. So it's not just Vim today. With Vim, you have another competitor for Vim that is Neovim. So we have an open source version that is Vim, but there's another version that makes it much easier to send patches to Vim, and that is Neovim. So we will discuss about what's Vim and what's Neovim, but then for this presentation, let's focus on Vim as a text editor and how does it really help you. He started this project around 92, and since then has been maintaining it, and he has received funding in order to maintain it, but he is the benevolent dictator for life for Vim. So essentially, he really cares about this software, and it's not too easy to send patches to Vim. But that's not a deterrent not to use Vim. What's important is it's a fantastic piece of software. It's really fast and it serves us really well. So the motivation to learn Vim is ubiquitous. It's available everywhere. You log into a remote Unix machine and you have Vim. You log into a remote servers, you have Vim everywhere. Even in your Mac, you'll have Vim. And guess what? Even if you're using a Windows system, you would be having Vim in Git Bash. So that's great. It's available everywhere. That's a great piece of software. It's portable. You can even have it on your Raspberry Pi and it runs fast. There are great bindings for writing code. So the bindings are amazing. I really fell in love with this editor back in college, and I really didn't find anything as fast, as interesting, and as intuitive as the key bindings that Vim gives you. You can use it for writing code or just for writing. Even if you're a writer, you're an author, you can just go ahead and write, and you can enjoy the interesting benefits that it gives you. As I said before, you can use your learnings not only in Vim, but maybe you can use it in IntelliJ. There is an interesting plugin called Idea Vim, and you can use all those bindings in Idea, VS Code. Even Emacs users have something called as an evil mode, where they could use Vim bindings. There's a tip. You have to stick with Vim for 2 weeks, or watch this presentation till the end, just to get convinced that this is cool. So will I be productive? Well, it's a very difficult question. Choice of text editors doesn't really make you a super productive developer. There are various other factors at play, but what's important is it kills the distractions. As you can see, what you're seeing in front of you is just a plain screen. You don't see those nice toggle buttons over there where you can click and run your tests. You don't see a nice tree editor on the left where you see all your files. You don't see a terminal. You're not able to compile code. It's just this terminal. And the distraction-free environment really makes you focus on the task at hand. And that's what I feel is really amazing. And combining it with the various key combinations that you could achieve with Vim, it gives you a productivity boost. And once you master these basics, you will be faster at text editing. When we are coding, we are not just, what are we doing? We are editing the text most of the time. You probably are working on a greenfield project, but then that greenfield project very soon converts into a project where you're maintaining stuff, you're refactoring stuff, you're copying stuff from one file to the other, you are breaking up bigger classes into smaller classes, and all of this, if you combine it with the usage of mouse and keyboard, that's a distraction. And you might say, oh, come on, I've been doing this for the last 5 years or 10 years, and why are you saying it's a distraction? Well, you have to do it to believe it. If you start using your keyboard more and you just focus on one specific aspect of editing the code, I think it does make you productive. So moving onwards, it's a modal editor. So what do you mean by that? There are various modes. That's why they call it's a modal editor. Now, what are the various modes that Vim offers? Now, this is the most important slide probably in this entire deck. Reason being, if you don't understand the modes, you won't be able to understand or follow the commands that we're going to issue in various modes. So the first mode is the normal mode. So let me just jump down to this part over here. We're discussing the normal mode. This is the default mode. When you log in into Vim, when you start Vim, this is the mode that you're in. Then there is a visual mode. Anytime you need this mode, there's a kind of a smell. Probably you could do something better. But if you're a visual person like I am, well, visual mode is for you. So the selections that I'm doing, these are in visual mode, you see? So this is the visual mode. And then you have the insert mode. This is one mode which allows you to make edits to the file. You can actually go and edit code when you're in the insert mode. Try to be in this mode as less amount of time as you can, because you're making mutations to your document. And that's a very minimal amount of time. Most of the time you're doing thinking or you're doing editing. And when you're doing editing, you don't need to be in the insert mode. Of course, you could do some editing in insert mode, but cut, copy, paste, that can be done in normal mode. You don't need to be in the insert mode to do that. There is something called as a command mode where you could execute commands. Let's say you want to save a file, delete a file, navigate to different files, maybe split this screen into 100 different screens, whatever. You have a command mode for that. And then there is a replace mode. So if you're replacing text, you get into the replace mode. So the tip here is try to be in the normal mode as long as you can. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through at least 5 or 6 slides. Then I'm going to bundle all them together and do a small demo for all of you so that we retain what we have actually seen in the slides. So let's go over them once more. Normal mode, visual mode, insert mode, command mode, and replace mode. Okay, let's retain that for a bit. Let's go to the next slide. How to quit Vim. Okay, that's a problem. Okay, people feel that it's very difficult to quit Vim, and the reason being they don't understand what a modal text editor is. For us, it's very simple. If you're using IntelliJ, just go file and say quit, or maybe just delete a specific tab. But with a modal editor like Vim, it becomes really hard, and that's why you need to understand the modes before you learn how to quit it. So all you need to do is you need to switch to command mode, and then you have to type Q. Okay, so this Q that you see over here is just the way to quit Vim. There are various other ways. You could just press ZZ, that's capital ZZ, in normal mode, and that would quit Vim. There are other ways to do that too. You could say W to save the file in the command mode and then say Q. So let's go over these, and we'll do a very short demo just to understand what's really going on here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my terminal so that the presentation is not this. Okay, so this is another editor. Now, what we will do here is we will demo the various modes, right? So this is what I've launched Vim. And as you can see on the bottom left, there is this normal sign. So this says that this editor is currently in normal mode. Let's say you want to go to a visual mode. I just press V. As you can see in the screencaster, the V has been pressed and now I'm in visual mode. So this is visual mode. I have to go back to normal mode. I press escape and I am back into the normal mode. I have to go into the insert mode. I press I and I'm in the insert mode. And let's say I type something over here in insert mode. I have to go to the replace mode. I press R and then I can replace it with whatever I want to. So let's say I want to be in the replace mode for the entire line. I press caps R and I type my name and it just replaced everything. So this is an interplay of various modes. You can go from normal to visual to replace and all of that. And then there is this interesting mode called command mode. If you go at the bottom, you see when I press double quotes, colon, it takes me to the command mode, escape, colon, and then Q. And that is where it says that you have not written the changes to this file. And that's why it complains, oh guy, come on, just save this file before you move out. So I say W, hello, I saved the file. And now if I say Q, then it quit. So you see what happened over here? People get really flustered when they see, okay, why I'm not able to just quit? Well, the reason being you have modified this buffer. But let's say you don't really care. Then you can say QA, Q colon, exclamation, and say that I don't really care about this file and I just need to exit. That's all. And then let's say I'm over here. I'll press caps ZZ and that will also, oh, now it is complaining that I have not saved the file. So, and then ZZ, and then I'm out of Vim. So exiting out of Vim is not a big deal. You just need to understand that you need to save it, or if you don't need to save it, you just need to put an exclamation, and that's how you exit out of Vim. So any questions on the modes? So visual mode, normal mode, replace mode, command mode. Anything that I'm typing over here is command mode. At the bottom, this is the command mode. W hello. So W means write the file, command mode. Cool. Thank you so much. Now,
are you in Unix system or Windows or Mac?
This is a Macintosh.
Okay.
All right. So what we just saw was we saw various modes. Let me go to the previous slide. We saw normal mode, visual mode, insert mode, command mode, and replace mode. And then we saw various ways to quit Vim. Okay, so this is basic. This is what we need to know before we actually start using Vim. Now let's move forward. Managing real estate. This is hard. We want more space. Okay, either you can afford dual screen monitors, or if you have a single screen, you need to somehow manage the space that you have. Vim, an editor that was built in 1991, has this foresight, and it has something called splits, and you could do vertical splits and horizontal splits. So let me give you a quick example of splits. So let's say if I do split, this is just split the window into two, and it has opened two buffers for me. So when you see anything being edited on the screen, that's basically a buffer. I'll just quit one and use one for our presentation. So you have various splits. There's vertical split, there's horizontal split called SP. We also have tabs. That's the beauty of it. So you could just enter tab edit in command mode, and it will create a new tab for you. And then if you want to navigate between tabs, you could use GT or G capital T in normal mode to go and back between tabs. So if you need to go to the right tab, you say GT, and it will just go to the tab. And you try to focus on the acronym, go to tab. Okay, and then capital T just does the reverse of it. It's as simple as that. I have a question. Is this Neovim? No, this is vanilla Vim, and I will show you Neovim as well. Now, using folds. Now, folds is where in your modern text editor, you're able to collapse a method. That's a fold. So if you need to fold, let's say 2 lines or 3 lines or 4 lines, you can just say ZF2J, and then that's how you start folding. We will speak of navigation in a bit, and that's when these commands will become even more easier to anticipate. What is 2J or what is 10J? But then the focus of this slide is how do you split, what are the tabs, and how do you use folds? All right. So let's move forward. This is managing real estate. And the other tip is, have you used tmux? Now, tmux is something that I discovered recently. If you already know, it's fantastic. Tmux is a terminal multiplexer. How many times have you used PuTTY or some SSH client to log in into a remote server? And when you log in into that remote server, you feel the need to spawn another terminal. Then you launch another TTY, and then you have like 5 or 6 different terminals that are there. Well, tmux is amazing. You could use tmux for that, and I'll give you a short demo in a while on what tmux is and how to use it. So this was managing real estate. Next, navigation. Now, this is really hard for people who are coming to Vim afresh. This is not intuitive. If you are used to using arrow keys, then this navigation doesn't really make sense. But try and understand, in 1967, when Bill Joy created this editor, the keyboards were slightly different, and they did not have these arrows. And that's why they had to do this multiplexing of keys just to make sure that navigation is still available. But looks like this is still very productive. It's not that bad. My keyboard is over here, and my fingers are always on the home row, and I don't have to go anywhere else to do anything. I don't have to go between my mouse or shuffle between my my arrow keys, and all my editing needs are on the home row. That's how productive it makes you. So let's do a small demo of both these capabilities. But then let's say, what is H? H is left, J is down, K is up, and L is right. And there are some nice shortcuts. 0 is go to the beginning of line, and dollar is to go to the end of line. And move up and move down paragraphs are supported with these braces. Now, I have a tip for all of you. If you are going to try Vim, which you should, use the Vimium plugin in your Chrome browser. If you use the Vimium plugin, all these navigations are available to you out of the box, and it becomes very easy to learn this editor and this navigation. And as I said, Vim is ubiquitous. It's available everywhere. So just download the Vimium plugin, and just go to the news, and you would see that it just works. Let me exit this. So I go to CNN.com. I'm over here, and you see I can scroll with my mouse, but at the same time, you see JJJ, KKK, and then capital G goes to the bottom, small g goes to the beginning of the document, and that's about it. So Vimium plugin is amazing. Please try to use that one. Okay, so let's do a small demo on these two aspects. What we are going to do is splits, tabs, and folds, and then navigation. So let's go to the Vim editor. So let's type in. Let's do a vertical split. So this is the vertical split. As you can see, the screen has been split, and I can basically resize this very easily. And then let's do a horizontal split. So this is the horizontal split, and you have this nice space that you can use. All right. There are very interesting plugins out there called Fuzzy Finder, Nerd Trees. I'll discuss all of that, but they also make use of the splits. So you see, it just spawned a buffer for you, and you have this nice split that is going on for you over there. All right. Now, so let's do folds. So let's say ZF10J, this entire file actually became a fold. Let's just fold these two lines, ZF1J, and then this just folded this line. So that was about folds. When you want to navigate between splits, it's not that hard. You have to do Control W, and then you have to use these navigation commands. Whether if it is on the right, you press L. If it's on the left, you press H. If you want to go up, J. If you want to come down, J. So I need to come down, Control W, J, and I'm down over here. So it's pretty interesting. It's not that difficult to move around, make selections in the visual mode, replace, move between words. It's not that hard. I'll discuss all of this. The other thing that we wanted to discuss is tabs. So I can go to the command mode, tab edit, and it created a new tab for me. And let's say I want to go back to my previous tab. I go back to the normal mode, G, capital T, it takes me back. I could just keep pressing GT, and it will cycle through these tabs. That's about it. So these are the various tabs. Icing on the cake, you can launch a terminal inside Vim, and and you can enter these commands. The thing is, when you are in insert mode, you can insert commands in the terminal, and when you escape out, you have all the Vim capabilities of editing to copy, paste, cut, do whatever you want in the Vim terminal. So that's the beauty of using terminal inside of Vim. But guess what? You could do the other way around. So let me quit Vim, and I told you I'll show you tmux. Oops. Okay, no, yeah. Quit all. So tmux. So I just started a terminal multiplexer, and now I could do the same thing that Vim was doing for me. The bindings are a little different, but now I have the real estate being split outside of Vim, and now I can launch Vim within. So that's just a terminal multiplexer. So it's just a tip, not related to Vim, but it will help you use the same terminal, reuse it. So that's a nice thing to use. All right, so we were discussing folds, we were discussing navigation, right? So let's go to Vim. All right, now let me open up a project. Let's say this file. So if you need to go down, of course, JJJ. But then let's say I want to go to the next paragraph. So as I said, brace. So you see, I just press the braces and then a shift, and then you see it's just jumping around. It's very easy. So going between methods is much easy. There is a question, is there any macro support in Vim? Of course, there is macro support in Vim, and I'm going to cover that in the subsequent presentation. So that was about it. So we learned about various navigations. Oh, well, beginning of the line and the end of the line. So let's say I want to go to the end of the line. Just do $, and you're at the end of the line. 0, you're at the beginning of the line. And that's the beauty. You can just jump around very quickly between the beginning of the line and the end of the line. All right, so cool. Now we move to the next leg, navigation 2. This is the most important navigation, F and T motions. F moves you to the cursor before the character has been searched, and T moves to the cursor at the character being searched. This is super useful. I'll tell you why. So let's say I want to move to the letter M. I'm on this line over here, and I want to move to the letter M. So FM, it actually took me there. FM, it took me there. And let's say TM, it took me to a cursor before M. Now, when you're coding, this becomes really useful. If you want to go to a specific keyword, you can just type the first character of that keyword, and using F or T motions, depending on what your requirement is, you can actually jump to that character. Let's do this once again. Let's say you want to move to cursor FC, okay, and it's there, FC, 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 and it is finding all the C's, and it is going to that point. So F and T motions, it looks very simple though, but it's very useful. I use it a lot, and this has been an amazing find. Now going to the beginning of the line, beginning of the file, and end of the file. There are shortcuts for that too. I just showed you on CNN how we did that. So GG actually goes to the beginning. So as you can see, my cursor is over here. Capital G actually went to the end of the file, and for some reason it actually went to the visual mode. It shouldn't have gone to the visual mode, but probably the plugin that I'm using for presentation makes it to the visual mode. But G, GG, G. So that's the beauty. And then Control O and Control I is to go back and forth. This, I cannot stress enough how important this is. I have been using IntelliJ for a very long time. I am an IntelliJ IDEA user. I do Java development, I do Python development, and there are many other languages that I code with. But then navigating, there is so much of cognitive overload. When I'm looking at a piece of code, I drill down into methods, and then when I go in, coming back, I have to remember, okay, what file it was that I actually drilled down for. Now, there are shortcuts in various IDEs and stuff, but remembering something unique and using it across is really something that shines. And Control O and Control I is amazing. It has served me really, really well. I'll demo that in a bit, but it's really amazing. So these were the navigations that we should remember. And GGVG, well, select. It's like your Control A, but again, try to remember.
VI is a command. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So now let's say you want to select the entire file, GGVG, and then you've selected the entire file. And let's say it's like a Control A equivalent, and then you press delete, you can delete. So navigation and FT motions, and what else? What did we do? Managing. All right, let's quickly do, I think I did demo all of that, but Control O, Control I is something that I should show it to you. So let's say I'm in this file and I want to understand what print does. So I go into the definition of print. Oh, okay, I need to be in. So this is a Neovim. This has different plugins that allows you to do autocomplete and all of that, but don't worry too much about Neovim or Vim or differences. What is important to understand is this is just a Vim editor, and all the, what is it, shortcuts work. So now I do GD. So GD is go to definition. And now I am actually in the Python library which is describing me how print is defined. Let's say I don't want to, I understand print, but I don't understand optional. So I do GD here and I go to optional. And okay, what is a special form? So I go inside the special form and I think this is the end of it. You cannot go drill down further. This is just a special form. Now, I came a long way, right? So Control O, you see, I'm back. Control I. So I'm going back in. So to be able to do this quickly in any given programming language, this is amazing. Of course, there is some setup that is required. Neovim has come up with an LSP support. LSP means Language Server Protocol, and there are supports for all the top programming languages except Java. The support is a little hairy for Java. It's not so good, but you can see how it really helps you. So, okay, now we move to the next leg of our presentation, basics. One, that is verbs, nouns, and modifiers. If you understand verbs, nouns, and modifiers in Vim, I think you've completely nailed it. And now you can start doing combinations of different commands, and you can start using Vim very productively. So what are the various verbs? You have visual, change, delete, and yank. Yank means copying in Vim. Just remember Y is for copying or yanking, and that's what it is. There are various modifiers. There's inside, there is around, there's till, and there's F, that is find. So we did T and F motions, right? So when I press T and go to a specific point, well, those are the modifiers. I want to select something till a particular point. I want to select till a particular character. So those are the T and the F motions. And then there are nouns, words, sentences, paragraphs, blocks, tags, parentheses. These are the nouns. Now, try to form English language words with these verbs, modifiers, and nouns. Then it becomes very interesting. So let's say I want to select visually a sentence. Okay, so VIS is what it is. So be in the visual mode inside a sentence. So VIS, and then it selected this entire sentence. Beautiful. It's so easy to do that. Imagine you going to your mouse, then selecting this entire sentence, or maybe you want to select an entire paragraph. VIP, and this entire paragraph is selected. And you can do whatever you want to do with this paragraph. You can delete, cut, paste, or move around. And in coding, believe me, this helps you a lot. Let's say you want to change everything inside braces. Change inside. So CI, and then you just specify the brace, and then you can change whatever you want inside those braces. You can change the arguments entirely. You can change a word. You can just say CW and it will change the word. You want to change a sentence, CS, and it can just start changing the sentence. You want to yank, as in copy the entire sentence, YIS, and you see. So just if you understand, and you don't have to remember a whole lot, and try to understand the permutations and combinations. 4 cross 4 cross 5. There's like so many combinations that you can do with this, but you have to remember so little, and that's why these shortcuts are amazing. Moving forward, cut copy. Well, this is the basics of every editor. You should be able to do this. It shouldn't be that hard, but it becomes hard because you don't have the understanding of maybe the modes in Vim or maybe the modifiers in Vim, and that's why it becomes difficult. But then in normal mode, you just you can, if you want to delete something, you just say D and then delete the word, or maybe 10J, and then 10 lines below will be deleted. Simple. You want to yank, you want to copy, that's Y, P is paste, R is for replace, and most important, U is for undo. So the acronyms are so easy, and navigating between words, that's like cheese. So see, WWW, I'm just navigating. And if you think that's too much, navigate 5 words, 5W. So it went five words ahead. So easy, right? So these were the basics of the Vim. So previous we saw verbs, and then we saw this deleting. All right, so let's quickly do a demo of all of this. So let's say I want to change something I want to change this self, CI braces, and see, I can just delete it. And let's say this is bad. This wasn't what I meant. So I press U, and that was undo. I want to change everything inside the double quotes, change in double quotes. deleted. All set. So I want to go to fruit, F, and then it went to fruit. Or I could press W and then navigate. I want to select this entire method, VIP, that is visual selection in paragraph. I want to press delete, delete, done. I want to copy this line, let's say yank, so YY is yank, P, you just keep pasting, done. I want to delete the top 8 D8K, done. So delete 8 lines upwards. By the way, I forgot to tell all of you what are these line numbers that are showing up on the right. These are relative line numberings. So the actual line number is the one that you see over there, that is 10. But everything above and below is relative. So it's 1 to 9 reverse, and then okay, let's say 1 to 7 down, and it becomes it makes navigation very easy. So let's say I want to jump to print 6J, I'm there. Let's say I want to jump to this generic fruit 8K, and I'm there. So that's the beauty of this navigation with relative, and you can enable this in IntelliJ. Don't worry. I mean, whatever you're learning here works everywhere. Cool. Inserting. We did this in brief, but let's take a look. So I is to go to the insert mode. A is to append, but something very important: caps O and small o. So if you want to create a line above or a line below, you use this caps O and small o. And for some reason, I find it very useful, because if you were to do it with the traditional keyboard approach, you would probably press the end and then press an enter and all of that. So so it's a lot of distraction to go to the right of the keyboard and do all of this. Instead, you can just be in normal mode, press O, and it does that. And a very interesting tip: Control W to delete the current word. If you are a touch typist, you type really fast, and if you type something really bad, well, you can just do Control W and it deletes this entire word. And that works in command mode too. So let's say I'm typing some command here, Control W, whoop, gone. You don't have to do this backspace business. And so these are micro optimizations again. Okay, so but they're helpful. So, and deleting. How do you delete? Delete is important. So DD to delete a line, X is to delete a character. And this can be combined with navigation commands. So we saw these verbs, modifiers, and nouns. So let's say you want to delete 2 words. So D to W, it will delete 2 words for you. D dollar, you remember dollar is the end of the line. So D dollar. D0, delete till the beginning of line. And then D10J, that is 10 lines below, or D10K, that is 10 lines upwards. Now all this is available in the form of a tutorial, and it's an interactive tutorial. It's called VIM Tutor. If you type VIM Tutor in Unix or Linux or Mac or maybe Windows Git Bash, it will start up VIM, a tutorial for you, and you can learn all of this very easily. Or you can just review this recording later, whichever works for you. But this is how you delete. I don't think we need to demo this, but it's fairly intuitive. Now, this is interesting. Now, fairly recently, I was working on an assignment where there was this log file, and this log file was really huge. It was like hundreds of MB of log file, and I wanted to highlight only a few lines and delete everything above and below. Now, I tried doing that with some of the IDEs that I had, and they just froze because the log file was 100 MB. And probably all those IDEs always want to index everything. Okay, so when they start indexing the log file, it just freezes. So that's where your deleting is really important skill, and you need to use it with the power of something like Vim. And I was able to do it pretty quickly with Vim. So there are 4 ways I found out later just to delete, but don't let that be a deterrent for using Vim. It's very intuitive. You can just point the cursor to the point you want to delete, and then you just say D K number K or D number below. So delete the number of lines above or delete the number of lines below. That's simple. Or you just go to the point where you want to delete from upwards, and then just say DGG. GG is the top of the file, or DG is the bottom of the file. So that's beautiful. And then you could switch to visual mode and you could do that. But guess what? I wanted to show you this. So this is the IDE which we are using. This is the Vim editor we are using for presentation. Let's use the same one. Let's spawn a new tab. Let's open that log file. So this log file is 102 MB log file. I'm going to the beginning of line. I'm going to the end of the file, and look at the snappiness. It's so quick. I'm searching through a 100 megabyte file so quickly. All right, so that's the beauty of Vim as a text editor. It makes things very quick. So as you can see, I'm over here. Now let's do the same exercise. I want to delete everything above. So D and then GG is what we need. DGG, and then it will delete everything above. Imagine 100 megabytes was just blown away in front of you. But no, they're in the buffer. I can press U and it just undid everything that I just did. 100 megabytes just undone for you so quickly in Vim. So that's the power of Vim. It makes it faster to do certain tasks. And of course, the text editing is fantastic. So that is something that I wanted to show you. Cool. So let me just kill this buffer.
So can the Windows laptop, Windows system user can use this editor?
Yes, you can.
How?
You can install. Do you have Git Bash? If you have Git Bash, some form of a Unix terminal, you would have Vim. And if you don't have Vim, then you can install it.
There's a Windows app for that, right? Is there?
There is a Windows app for it. Of course, there is a Windows package for it. Yeah,
yes, you can go to Vim website and download the whole package. You can do that one. Or if you are having the WSL enabled on your Windows desktop, you can use the VI in there as well. All those options are there. WSL, yep.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for helping him out. And replacing. Okay, we did replacing. So why do we have a slide here? Well, we wanted to do a little more replacing. So small r is to replace one character, caps R2 is to replace the entire buffer. That's easy, that everyone knows. But then how do you do replace in this entire file? Okay, so you can do that easily. Let's say I want to replace this fruit with this F. So I did it with replace R. So all are fruits here. F is a fruit. This is a fruit. This is a fruit. And let's replace this fruit with capital fruit. Okay, F caps and then RUIT. So how you do it? %s. Look at the command mode. I'm typing the command in the command mode. That's the bottom left of the screen. %s. That means replace. I want to replace fruit with what? And see, when I typed fruit, it automatically selected that fruit for you. And then I type FURIT, the word which I want to replace it with. And then I'm going to say GC. GC means please confirm what you are replacing. Just don't go incessantly replacing the entire buffer. If I just say G enter, it will replace everything. Let's do that. It just replaced, and you didn't have control over what was going on. So now I'll issue the command with GC. And then it is going to ask you, the one in pink, do you want to replace? Well, yes. The one currently in white, yes, 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 and then no. So this is how you go around replacing, and you could use this across projects also. So that's replace for you. Okay, now I'll definitely go through all the questions, but there's some material that I need to cover, important material. So I'll cover that material and then they'll go through all the questions over here. Multi-line cursors. Important, really interesting. All the interesting IDEs have this, but it's very difficult to use. So I'll show it to you how to use multi-line cursors. This is the theory. Control V, then you press I, and then you make the change and escape. Okay, I'll keep this for the slides, but I'll just show it to you, and that's much easier. So let's say you want to comment this method. Now, all the modern IDEs have a very interesting way to do it. Okay, just control / and you'll have a comment coming out. But let's, for the sake of it, I want to just describe this for a multi-line case. Okay, so when you say, So now I'm in the visual block mode using Control V. And J. By doing JJ, I'm just going down. So now I'm here. I have selected one vertical buffer, and then I do insert. And this is not small I, this is caps I. So that's why it is Shift I. And then I say I want to comment it. In Python, the way to comment it is, let's say hash. Okay, so I pressed hash, and then I say escape. Done. So this is multi-line cursors, and you can do a lot of things with this. You cannot just insert, you can delete, replace, copy, paste. You can visually select some portion of the screen and just delete it or do whatever you want. So that's the beauty of multi-line cursors. Just do it once and then it will help you. So that was multi-line cursors for you. And then macros. Amazing. So there was some question on macros. Does Vim support macros? Well, of course it does. Macros are supported. And let me give you a theory of what is a macro. Macro is a way to record something and just replay it. That's all. Simple. But how do you record it? The mechanism of it, you need to understand the commands. You have to be in normal mode. You start the macro recording with the Q key. Okay, so you start with Q. And then there are various registers, A to Z. You can use whatever register you want. In this example, I'm using D as the register. And then you type the series of commands that you want to repeat. Okay, let's take an example. I want to capitalize everything in the file. So I select one word, I'll capitalize that word, and then I'll just move to the next word. Now this sequence, I'll copy it in one register called D, and then I'll replay it across various, whatever number of times. The way to replay it is, oh, sorry, I need to stop the recording. So I need to press Q and stop it again. So with Q, you start the recording. With Q, you stop the recording. And then you can run it as many times as you want. So let's say @D will run it once, or then @10D will run it 10 times. So let's do this small demo over here. Okay. Okay. So let's say I'm going to capitalize this file. Okay. So QD. As you can see in the bottom left of the screen, it says recording has started and in register D. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to select this word. Okay, so I selected this word using VIW, visual inside word. And now there is a magic. It's called something called tilde. So you press the tilde key and then it will automatically convert this to uppercase. Okay, and then I move to the next word. For the sake of recording, you want to record it in such a way that it can be replayed. And so I move to the next word. And now I will stop this sequence by pressing Q. The recording has stopped and my macro is in the register D. Let's try to replay this. Okay, @D. And as you can see, fruit got converted. There is a bug in my recording because so the F was caps, so it got converted to small and then whatever. So let's do this. Let's replay this across the entire file. D. Oops. @ let's say 100. Uh-oh. Okay, this is working. So the mistake that I was doing was I was typing the number after @. You have to type it before. So let's say 100 @D. And then it should replay this across the entire file. And as you can see, this macro actually ran this across this entire file and it capitalized everything. Now imagine you're doing something like this on a 100 megabyte file. So recently I had an assignment where I had an enum full of values and I wanted to pass those enum values with the actual type with a comma. So I just ended up writing a macro and all those 15 values inside a enum were actually substituted with not just with the type but also with the name of that enum. So some assignment that I was working on, and macros really helped me in that regard. So recording a macro and reusing it, sometimes it is useful. I don't use it a lot. That's why you could see my understanding of macros is a little choppy, but it helps you once in a while. So it's an amazing thing to know in Vim. And the tip is, yes, of course, use tilde to change case. So thank you, everybody. I think this was an introduction that I wanted to give all of you on what Vim is. And Believe me, you can use it for serious programming. There are some really amazing plugins out there. Let me demo one to you. All right, in Vim, I was just confirming that I'm in Vim. There's something called ribgrep, and you can search whatever you want to with ribgrep. So let's say I want to search everything with the word. Okay, I'm not in the directory which has that. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. Where am I? Okay, code enjoy. All right, in Vim, ribgrep. So, Bomberman. So as you can see, it is actually showing me all the files which has Bomberman in it, and I can actually click on it and I can actually open that file. So this actually makes your workflow really amazing. So you can search for things very quickly in a repo, and then it just gives you a nice preview of that file. Select enter and you have it in front of you. So there are like amazing plugins out there. There's something called nerd tree, and then let's say this method, I want to see the outline. There's something called tag bar, and it starts showing you, well, this is not a code most likely, so it's not showing you the tag, or it doesn't understand this language. But then let me open up something like a Java file. Okay, yeah, here you go. So there are some Java files over, and you can see on the right there is tag. Believe me, you can also debug with Vim, and it's called Vim Spectre. There is a plugin for that. But anyways, that's a topic for the next tech talk maybe. I'm ready to take questions. Yeah, so on many Linux versions, VI is default, which is Vim, but in tiny mode. You have to install Vim full, which will recreate the link to Vim and get full syntax and all the other Vim goodies. Absolutely. So Vim is VI improved. It is an improved version of VI, and it's installing Vim is not that difficult. You could use a package manager and install it, but I've seen Vim present on most of the systems that have access. All right. The syntax highlighting is very helpful, but it is slow if it is a huge file. If you open a huge log file, yeah, syntax highlighting shouldn't be slow. There is a plugin called Tree Sitter, and that understands the abstract syntax tree for the programming language that you're using. And you can write your own refactoring plugins and all of that with Tree Sitter. If you're interested in things like that, just go search Tree Sitter, and it will show you some amazing syntax highlighting. Okay. There is a question on comparison between VI and Vim. Oh, well, if you'd ask me, should I use VI or Vim? I would say use neither, use Neovim. Neovim is the community version, and most of the cutting edge plugins and latest stuff would be available with Neovim. It has a language server protocol. The most important thing is Neovim is async. So it allows you to run certain tasks asynchronously, and that's the beauty of it. Okay. Am I writing my own refactoring plugin? I do most of my refactorings in Vim. So let's say if I don't need to rely on the IntelliSense or whatever, I do all my basic refactoring inside of Vim. But I'm not writing a tool myself. But if I understand Tree Sitter really well, I could write refactoring plugins based on the suggestions in the book by Martin Fowler in his book Refactorings. I'm currently reading that, and hopefully I would come up with some plugin very soon. Yeah, any questions? Any more questions? You could unmute yourself and ask me a question if you have one.
I have one question, and I don't mean to spark any sort of discussion or anything, but it's just a genuine question about IntelliJ. You have sort of stuff like code completion or compilation help, stuff like that. Do you have that kind of stuff on Vim, or how do you get that kind of help that sometimes the IDE gives you.
Yeah, so see, if you are a VS Code user, you don't need to use Vim. You can use the Vim plugin for VS Code and still enjoy all the benefits that I just showed you here. However, if you are too keen on using Vim, I would encourage you to use Neovim. And if you are using Neovim, you would get code completion very easily. They have a language server protocol implementation. Not so long ago, I showed you some Python code with auto completion. So when I click on dot, it starts showing you all the methods. You can drill down, you can come back, you can see the PyDoc for a specific method, and I think that's possible. But if you're using VS Code or any other IDE, I think you're not at any disadvantage. You're still amazing. You're a great developer. All you need to do is maybe just use the Vim plugin. Let me just quickly show it to you if it's possible. VS Code. I think I have a very old one. I haven't launched it in a very long time, but let me quickly show that to you. And while that launches, any other questions?
Yes, I forget what the command is to come in out a block of code.
Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, so I don't have Vim here. That's a problem. Okay. So you wanted the command to. So what is it that you want? You want to come out of this block of code?
Yes, sir.
Where do you want to go?
Just put like, whatever the language is, comment, like, two forward slashes or, pound signs, just to block come in out that line of code.
Oh, yeah. Comment. You want to comment that. All right. So it's simple. You go to line, Control V, and then JJJ, and then you say Shift I. This is Java, so forward slash, and then escape. So all this is described here, previous, here. So this is how you do it. So you need to go into multi-cursor mode, and then JJJ, you can select the lines, then you press I, and then you put the commenting sign and escape.
Thank you very much.
Do you feel the editor is better than any GUI editor taking about performance, especially for developer? Well, of course, the editor is amazing. It's fast. If I use a Vim plugin inside IntelliJ IDEA, it is still very slow. And sometimes you need that, that quick feedback to get things done. However, nothing stops you. You're still a productive developer if you're using IntelliJ and all of that. There is no major benefit out of just using vanilla Vim. But if you have the relevant plugins and you're using the dynamic programming languages like Python, Go, I think VI is more than enough. You don't need anything else. But when it comes to Java, Java is the one. Java, I feel, is a product of great marketing and needs a lot of plugins and heavy lifting that IntelliJ does for you. So you could use IDEA Vim with IntelliJ. I think if you're a Java developer, that makes a lot of sense. So that was a question. Yep. Yeah.
I can speak of one practical aspect of VI versus using any other editor. So if you're doing any of the remote debugging, more like you're sitting in New York City and your server happens to be Singapore or really far away from you, at that point, you would really appreciate having a VI editor on a Unix terminal, because the feedback that you're going to get right away, all that latency of being really thousands of miles away from the server, it just melts away. You'll not even feel that. Versus if you go with the VS Codes kind of a thing, and let's say you're doing something in the production environment, you will really feel all those problems there, the syntax highlighting and all those things, because everything is going on the connection, on the remote connection that you are having. So you will feel the latency of all those things.
Absolutely, you need something lightweight in such situations. Yeah,
it's more like situation by situation. It will depend on what kind of workflow you're running at one point. Some places VI is good, some places VI is pretty much, I would say, of no use. It'll be a lot of overhead. So it depends on what you're working on, what you're using at one point.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. Is there any additional setup required for Neovim to support auto-completion for Python or other languages? For Python, yes, you need the language server protocol, and Neovim has it inbuilt with version 0.5. All the latest information about it can be very easily found on the internet, but I can quickly show you. My nvim config, right? Yeah. So this is my nvim config, and yeah, all you need to do is you have to install something called Pyrite. Yeah. So if you install Pyrite, then it becomes, yeah. So these are the local servers. I'm using Pyrite, Rust Analyzer, and TypeScript server. But Pyrite is what you need to install, and that will give you the auto completion for Python. I think that's it for now. Thank you so
Good.
much.
Thanks everyone. Thank you, Rohit. That was amazing.
Yep. So before I close, I'll just answer one last question from Alexander. So do you think writing editing speed is very important? As example, from programming performance, unreadable code is better than less performant code but readable. You are absolutely right when you say that writing reading speed is not that important. Being able to have this snappy feel frees up time on tasks that you can focus on, that is refactoring. Writing something fast is not going to make code really shine and make it beautiful or make it of any better quality. But having this quick feedback loop where I'm quickly writing a test, I'm able to quickly write production code that passes that test and go to this TDD loop. To be able to quickly do this with VI and in very short cycles, that makes the snappiness really shine. And this quick feedback frees up time. Even we are talking of just a few milliseconds here and there, that's fine. But you don't have to really wait it out for certain things to happen. It just quickly happens, and you have to experience it. It's difficult to put into words, but try to do TDD with Vim, and you would really love it. It's pretty quick.
Good. Thank you, Rohit.